Welcome to What Haunts You, a podcast about the stories that haunt our dreams. I'm Carly.
And I'm Katie. We're doing kind of like an update episode because we're going to be changing some things. I've just been having a hard time watching movies in general and especially horror. So I think I'm going to step away from this podcast for a bit at least. I might guest star or whatever occasionally. But Carly and I are going to try to do a podcast together about The Good Place, which is one of my favorite shows. And I think it'll be a shorter format and easier for my brain. I think I've said on here before, but I just find TV shows like so much easier than movies. I could watch like a whole season of a show, but watching a movie is just like so much more draining for me for some reason. And also, like, I feel like when you say interesting things about horror, it like sparks my brain. And I'm like, oh yeah, like horror is interesting. Like I still admire horror and like it as a genre. And I think I've like learned some cool things about it. But I think I just like don't have that much to say about horror because it's so formulaic a lot of the time.
That makes sense.
I'm excited for the Good Place podcast and I'm excited to hear what you do with other people. I'm hoping that the Good Place episodes will be like, well, so I want to try doing like, we did record the first episode of like live reactions and I want to still do some additional responses past there. But I really like doing live reactions and I know that's something you've been like tentative about in the past. So I'm interested to see how that can go because I don't know. I just think that we're like silly and funny when we're just like reacting to things and like we usually talk a lot during shows, which I know some people find annoying, but that's like the highlight of my life.
Especially if it's something that we've already watched. I think it's like there's just
Right.
so much to talk about.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've probably seen The Good Place like at least 6 times all the way through. It's like not that long. I think the episodes are like under half an hour. They're like 23, 24 minutes. And yeah, so we'll be figuring out that new format. But I think I have more to say there. But I still feel like there's like this pull between me wanting to say just like my genuine reactions in the moment and like wanting to like fully analyze and pick it apart, like which I've felt in with both genres, where it's like, do I just say like the immediate thing I'm thinking, or should I be, yeah, like analyzing and doing more thinking before saying things?
Well, and it sounds like maybe the Good Place situation will be like kind of combining the two a little bit more too.
Yeah, I think the format for that I like is like doing live reactions. I still need to like pull apart that first recording and see how long our reactions actually are. And I tried to like explain what we were reacting to as I was saying it. So it's not like completely like, what are you talking about? I also like so many shows do this to me, but especially that show, I feel like I have like such bad echolalia, or not bad, but just like it's very frequent. So I'm just like repeating lines the way that they say it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I am curious how long the audio will be once it's like snipped down.
Yeah, I think it's probably like 10 minutes and then we can talk about it more for like 10 to 15 minutes. My memory is just so bad that like I feel like we will need to record our other reactions to that. But it's also like, I don't know, I think like after each season, we'll probably do like a larger roundup of our thoughts about like what happened throughout the entire season. I was reading some really interesting threads about Chidi and if he's like a good or bad person and other stuff related to that. I can't go too far into it because it's a spoiler.
Yeah. Yeah, but I'm definitely curious to see what'll come up, and there's like a lot of good stuff in that series to talk about. A lot
Yeah,
of fun
for sure.
tangents I imagine will go down.
Yeah, yeah. And you studied philosophy in undergrad, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
but I feel like I forgot a lot about it. I feel like the thing I learned from studying philosophy was less anything specific about certain philosophers and much more just what does it mean to to like ponder on a question and come at it from all sides, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the important part. I mean, like Chidi and people who have made it like their whole life can like quote specific people at specific times. I'm always like, for literally everything, I like remember the gist of the quote of something that I'm trying to talk about, and I don't remember the exact quote or who said it. I'm always like, somebody said something about that thing over there.
Me too. Like, I remember the vibes.
But aren't the vibes really all that matters?
I think
At
so.
least to me they are.
I think so.
I think horror's cool, and I really I appreciate you expanding my vision of what horror is. And I think that's been a chain reaction where I talk to people who are like, "Oh, I hate horror." And I'm like, "I bet you don't though."
I love that.
Um
That's like my whole thesis. You know that is that there's no one who hates horror.
yeah.
People hate being scared. Totally fine. Totally fair. But
Yeah.
it's just more than that.
Yeah, I think most of the time when people say they hate horror, they mean like slashers or jump scares, and they don't like think about like what the whole world of horror is. I mean, so many people like mysteries that I think have major horror elements or psychological thrillers, that kind of thing. And I think like those are still my favorite genres of horror. But it is fun to watch slashers every now and again. But I do feel like when it's like homework or feels like homework to me, then I'm like, oh, I have like this extra layer of being like dreading it, which I don't like.
That's fair. That's fair. I feel like I'm always thinking about it like it's homework, but like in a fun way.
Yeah. I do like some kinds of homework, but I don't know, not for that.
Well, I think when you're already watching movies and movies are like
Yeah,
already kind of hard for you to watch and then you have to like be keeping more track of stuff on top of that, like I
right.
think it makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. But I do like I like we frequently will watch things together from different places and be like live reacting to things, and I like doing that. And I don't know, I think if a movie comes out that I'm like super interested in or that we want to watch together, that we'd probably do a What Haunts You episode in the future.
I
But
imagine we'll watch a lot more movies than we than we talk about on the show, but
yeah, for
yeah,
sure.
definitely.
And what are your plans for What Haunts You?
I am going to keep it going. I'm still kind of figuring out what that looks like. I love talking about horror. I love hearing what other people have to say about it, and obviously I just generally love it. So, I have like several friends including you who want to participate but like don't want to get into a whole thing, right? So I think that
Mm.
it's going to have to be kind of alternating between me with a guest, so me with one of my friends who probably like will bring in what movie they want to talk about, or books. I think I want to also cover books,
Yeah, you read a lot, so that makes sense.
but and then I think the other episodes will just
And
I
especially like Stephen King.
yeah, officially a horror podcast, unofficially a Stephen King podcast. um, yeah, so I think the other episodes when I don't have guests, because obviously I'm not going to be able to get if people don't want to commit to doing something like this for a reason, and the reason is because it's time, it's effort. Like I have people who will want to do it, but it's not going to be enough to like keep it really running all the way. So alternating with those, I will do one like I'll do episodes that are just me, and I'm still kind of figuring out what that's going to look like. One thing that I've
Mhm.
always liked to do is kind of group movies together and like create double features and movie marathons that are related in some way. So sometimes it's a time period or a director or a theme, or movies that pay a lot of like homage to other movies. So I think I'll probably be doing a lot of that in the solo episodes. I don't really think I can imagine myself like talking for 1 to 2 hours about a single movie on my own. I think that the episodes I do by myself will be shorter and probably more broad in general, but hopefully still interesting. And I think it'll be
Yeah.
like a cool challenge to try to figure out what it looks like to do that by myself.
Yeah. Yeah, this has been a fun venture for me. I think I do really like podcasting. It just like wasn't quite my topic. And it's just like so hard to tell how much effort to put into sound editing when you're starting out, cuz like we talked about how we've listened to a bunch of podcasts that like the sound's not that good in the beginning. But I think especially as a musician, it's like hard for me to be like it's fine for the sound to not be good. And I'm just like so
Mhm.
sensitive to sound in general. but it's like an annoying amount of effort since I don't really know how to do podcast editing. I'm just like, okay, this is too loud, this is too quiet, that kind of thing. I think that's something that'll be easier for me with shorter episodes also.
I think it's going to be fun to do something that will feel more manageable and something that we're excited, like something else that we're also excited to talk about. And I
Yeah.
think that, I think we started doing this when you were first really kind of getting more interested in horror.
Yeah.
And I think when something is new and exciting, you have more energy for it,
For
right?
sure.
And for me, this has been like, like a many a year interest. So we're coming into it from such different places.
Yeah.
And I think that doing something like The Good Place that I know you've liked for such a long time,
Mhm.
I don't think it'll have like the same issue, if that makes sense.
I agree.
And I really liked it. So like I think I'll be able to fully engage with it for for a second watch. I'm looking forward to watching it again anyway. So I think it'll be really fun to see where that takes us. And there's so much fun stuff to talk about in that show
Yeah.
because it's so much philosophy, but it's also just like so silly and absurd and all over the place. So I think it's going to be very fun.
Agreed. Do you want to talk about what you've recorded already, or you want it to be a surprise?
Oh, yeah, I guess I will. So, yeah, if you listened to our episode on the movie It Follows, you might remember my friend Kelly, who was on that episode with us and really like threw down, like really came
She
with
was
so
so
much.
good.
Yeah, she came with so much information and like so many good insights. It was amazing. We covered a very old movie and she really gave me some homework. She gave me like two other movies to watch because she was like, I can't talk about this movie without talking about these other movies. I'm not going to say which ones they are right now, but it's very like niche, but it was so much fun to talk about. And we talked for 2 hours, so it'll be a long one, but I think it was really interesting. And I do think it felt like it ended in such a good place. Like I think we both felt really good at the end of it, which is always a good sign. I loved having like the extra homework. Like it was fun. It was fun to have my energy matched on that.
Yeah.
I did mention to her in that episode that like what she did with giving me these three movies to watch was exactly the type of thing that my brain likes to do anyway. So it was really fun. Like we focused more on the first movie that we chose, but we did kind of rope in like these other things and why they were related and how they influenced each other, and it was really a treat. It was really fun.
Nice. I'm excited to hear that.
Hear it in little chunks
Yeah.
over time probably.
Yeah, no, I could not listen to a 2-hour podcast straight across. Maybe if I was on like a cross country road trip, but usually it's like I listen to podcasts when I'm like in the shower for like 20 minutes or whatever and then stop it until the next time. But I do listen to longer things like that. Like I've been listening to My Favorite Murder like from the beginning. And yeah, I break it up into like 3 or 4 different sessions per episode usually. That's like how I watch movies too. But I think
I
that's like what
know.
makes movies hard for me to talk about because I'm like, wait, I don't know. Because it's meant to be absorbed all at once, like differently than a TV show is. So like the way the information, I don't know, it's hard.
I have trouble jumping back into a movie. If it's the first time I'm watching it, if I've
Mhm.
seen it before, it doesn't really matter. But when I'm watching something for the first time, it's hard for me to like, I might pause it and grab a snack, go to the bathroom, whatever. But it's hard for me to pause it and like go do something else entirely and then come back to it. I think it's
Mhm.
hard.
It's like kind of hard for me, but not as hard as just watching a movie straight through. It's like physically painful for me unless it's like really flowing. But I think I've said in like almost every episode that I could have cut out like a third of the movie.
You do tend to feel that way, and I'm always like, add the deleted scenes back into the movie.
I think the one movie we've agreed on that so far is Wicked Part 1, where like every deleted scene I was like this shouldn't have been deleted. But also when I saw it in theaters, I was like checking my watch like every 20 minutes probably because it did feel so long.
I felt like if it was 5 minutes, I was like, I could be here all day. I've already been saying like I can't wait until they're both on streaming so that I can just sit and watch Wicked for like 5 hours.
Yeah. I think it would be easier for me at home. I watched it in a theater with like the uncomfortable chairs where like so a lot of the time thing was me being like, how much longer do I have to sit in this stupid chair?
Yeah, that's definitely fair. I saw it at the recliner theater, which helped.
And I like watching things at home so you can like pause it for snacks or to go to the bathroom. It's
Or to
easier.
just do 50 other things.
Yes, that too. So where can people find you and keep up with you if they want to stay in touch?
You can still find me in the same spot on Instagram at What Haunts You Pod. We're still in the same feed on Spotify. I'm trying to get the Apple podcasting set up. And yeah, I'm going to get back into it and get on a schedule and see where things go.
And we don't have a name yet for the Good Place podcast. There's a couple other shows we've talked about watching, so I'm not sure if we're going to make a Good Place podcast and then another podcast for other shows, or if we're just going to have like a overarching thing for the shows that we watch. So when we figure that out, we'll let you know, I guess.
Yeah, and I can announce it too on here and on the social media pages once we have a plan for it. Yeah. So this is our podcast breakup of this podcast. But
Yeah, of this podcast.
we're creating a new relationship contract for
Yeah.
ourselves.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, sounds good.
I was going to say I'll miss you, but I'll still have you in my life and in other podcasts.
I miss you all the time anyway though cuz I love you.
Aw, I love you too.